Charles Lee has the best first world problem in the world. There's a lot of mouths to feed now that Brandon Miller is back and healthy. And I can't wait to see how him and the coaching staff kind of approach this because I think it's really interesting and it's something that we got to watch for the games coming forward. However, in this game, Saturday, 1 p.m. tip-off, James Harden drops 55, has a double nickel game in this one. I'm here joined by Hunter Bailey, writer for the Charlotte Observer and founder of the Highway 49 podcast. I mean, Hunter, just starting off, Brandon Miller, first quarter, first possession, fast break. LaMelo gets it, gives it back to Brandon for a dunk. What's going on in your mind in that first quarter?
Yeah, I mean, it felt just like how it did in Greensboro in the preseason. The opener against Brooklyn, just LaMelo, one thing he's going to do, he's going to find Brandon Miller, and Brandon is going to slam it down. So great to see him back on the court. I think he scored the team's first 6 points, scoring at all three levels. His three ball wasn't really there today. It's kind of been a theme for early season struggles for him, but just awesome to see him back on the court, man, especially on his birthday.
Yeah, absolutely. And he goes and has a couple more buckets to kind of start off hot. I think he has 6 or 8 early points in that first quarter. And I wrote down roles because everybody's roles change when LaMelo's back and healthy, and especially when Brandon Miller is back healthy. In particular, Miles Bridges. I'm seeing Miles Bridges playing the way that I think people wanted to see him play, at least in that first quarter, where Brandon is there as an option. Khan's there as an option on the corner, and then LaMelo's the offensive engine. And what you're seeing that is Miles Bridges is catching the ball, not having to dribble, but immediately attack defenders while they're closing out hard. And I think that's where he's best utilized. Can you talk about the roles on this team and how this team looks when we don't see it often, but when they're healthy?
Yeah, and it's interesting with LaMelo, right? I mean, you look at him today, he's in foul trouble much of the game. It's a lot of silly fouls. I mean, he gets a transition take foul that just blows your mind. Like, why are you committing that foul? And it gets to a point where he's missing a lot of the third quarter in foul trouble. I mean, so I think the roles change a little bit, even with a healthy LaMelo on the court, going back to some of that decision making. But watching Con Knipple, that's not a third option player. That's not a fourth option player. That might be your number one option at points in this season. And the way that he's playing right now, I mean, guys like LaMelo to bring that gravity, guys like Brandon Miller, when he gets hot, Con is gonna have, and we talked about this, Con is gonna have that corner three ball every night if LaMelo and Brandon can find their rhythm. And then Miles Bridges, I think he's kind of, in my mind, he's great for that kind of fourth role, kind of fourth ball handler, fourth scorer, whatever it may be. Just go in there, do the dirty work. If LaMelo is in foul trouble, pick it up, run him with the second unit some because they really don't have that wing player right now. You think of a Josh Green, you think of a Grant Williams behind them. Obviously, Tajon Salon is out in Greensboro, so yeah, it is a first world problem for Charles. I hope that there is an expanded or extended period of time for him to, mix and match and figure out what flows the best, which duos are the best, what late game rosters, rotation, whatever it may be, is the best. So yeah, knock on wood, hope to continue to see that, I guess, starting five at least on the court.
Yeah, the first quarter starts off and the Spectrum Center is alive and they are buzzing, no pun intended. But you look up and I'm like, Harden's having a good game. And I look up, he has 23 points in the first quarter. I'm like, how did he reach 23? Ends the first quarter with 27 points. Just incredible. But during that entire time, I have written down in my notes, Khan has to get more touches. Khan has to get more touches. There's some times where Colin Sexton is going downhill and Khan has the relief for a wing three wide open. Doesn't pass it to him. There's another point. Brandon Miller gets the double. He takes the midi, and I'm saying Khan's right there wide open for three because two is put on the ball for Brandon Miller. So it's going to be really interesting to see how these guys gel and mesh together. But again, that's the best problem this team can have because you couldn't say this when Brandon wasn't in this lineup.
Yeah, and by no means what I'm saying here am I comparing Khan's scoring ability to a Kevin Durant, but when I think of KD, I think if he can plug and play anywhere, Khan's game is similar. He doesn't need the ball in his hands. He's gonna work hard off the ball to get open, gonna find his spots, and I think it's gonna be, I mean, it's welcomed already in this offense. We've seen what he can do, 30-point games early in his rookie season. But yeah, as Brandon finds his footing and as I guess Khan drops down the scouting report a little bit. If Brandon Miller finds this, like I say, finds his shot, LaMelo continues to be LaMelo. Khan's not going to have a primary, top end defender on him every night. He's going to have these opportunities to have a monster rookie season.
Yeah, Colin Hoggard for WFNZ was sitting next to us. Shout out to Colin. He was saying a lot of stuff in this game, and one of them I wrote down. He said, "Can this team stay on the court long enough to have the hard conversations?" And what I mean by that is like, can LaMelo, Brandon, and Khan be on the court together and be good on defense? Can we see them long enough on the court to even have that conversation? And I really hope that we can. But to continue on with this game, man, it's really cool to see that LaMelo Ball, Brandon Miller, Khan, Miles, Kalk before his ankle injury that he left in the game, they were playing really well together. However, it didn't mean much because the Clippers were able to fight back and punch back every single time. And the one worry that I had was when those guys sat, the second unit I have written down here is Sexton, Sion, Musa, Liam, and Miles. And I'm saying, where is the offense coming from? I know Trey Mann is injured right now, but this all goes back to what we talked about with Jeff Peterson and his evaluation, where he told us the one thing he wants to be able to do is evaluate this team when they're healthy, and this is the only way to be able to do it. Can you talk about what this roster looks like now that it actually kind of looks like an NBA team and not dragging guys off 10 days to kind of plug and play because your guys are out?
Yeah, the Teo Maledon days are ones of the past for sure. It's nice to see that kind of roster flexibility now. I mean, even Drew Peterson got some minutes tonight. We've talked a little bit about that offline. What kind of some of the lineups that they're putting out there, you're looking around like where's the scoring? Now you feel a little better, even though I think Sion James has hit a little bit of a maybe a rookie wall early in season. He knocked down a three today. I know it was good for him to see that go through the hoops. So as Trey Mann gets back, you wonder kind of how he fits into it because Colin Sexton, like we talked earlier and just texting back and forth, like Con Knipple has to get some of the shots. You mentioned it a minute ago, but being able to evaluate this team as a whole, you hope to see that. Like today, Plumlee had to play a lot. You hope that doesn't happen a ton moving forward. Obviously, Kalkbrenner, very promising this early in his rookie season. And then we know Moussa Diabate is like one of the most violent players in basketball. So seeing how it all matches together, I still don't think this is a playoff or play-in team. But it's nice to watch some cohesive basketball, and the Brandon Miller Con Knipple connection is going to take time. I mean, you think about it, they've played what 4.5 quarters together before Brandon's injury, and then add in LaMelo, who's on and off the court. I think they're gonna have some opportunities because Brandon, I mean, obviously he suffered the season-ending wrist injury. He's relatively been durable through his collegiate career. He was obviously great in high school, and now you just hope he can stay on the court because that's in my opinion, he's going to have to be maybe your 1A player along with LaMelo if they're going to find any victories kind of down the stretch.
Yeah, I talked about evaluating from the GM role with Jeff Peterson, but I want to talk about self-evaluation with the players. 30 seconds left in the second quarter. The Hornets are making a run. They've closed the gap a little bit, and LaMelo brings the ball down court, doesn't pass to anyone, kind of just dribbling the top of the key, tween, gets to a step back, snatch, throws it up, and it doesn't go in. And I tweeted out, maybe a year ago, 2 years ago, when you had guys on 10 days, Damian Ball, no disrespect, Teo Maledon, these guys, I'd be saying, LaMelo, please shoot that shot.
You got to shoot it. Yeah.
You have to shoot that shot. Now you have Con Knipple and Colin Sexton and Miles Bridges and these guys on the floor. And I'm saying that is not the shot you want to be taking when you have the supporting cast that you do right now. And someone left a comment that was good. He might still be having those, those memories or kind of that muscle memory of, hey, I have to take this shot because no one else is here, but you now have those guys. Can you talk about what you see from LaMelo and maybe how he can change his game with the added talent that he now has on this roster?
Yeah, I mean it's one of those things where if his shot's not going in, which tonight I think he's 1 of 7 from three, he shot relatively well from the field, 50%. But if your shot's not falling, yeah, swing, find your guys, lock in on defense, don't commit silly fouls because I mean he knows he's the engine of this team. I mean we saw all these trade reports this week. He shut them down. He actually spoke to the media, said he loved being in Charlotte. So from what it sounds like, he's going to continue to be here, but they're going to need him to be that leader, even if the shot's not falling. And it's been well documented. Doesn't have a great whistle. We've talked about it. I've asked Charles about it, mentioned it on here. But it's something where you look at this team and watching them, we thought the biggest concern before the season was the center spot. Ryan Kalkbrenner's played well. Musa gives you everything he's got every night. But the reality is this team's another wing defender and a 6'10", 6'11" power forward that can put the ball on the floor and guard the team's best player away from really getting to where they want to be.
Yeah, absolutely. And I kind of want to ask you another question quickly based on LaMelo and how maybe he can change his game to optimize this team and this roster. And what I mean by that is I'd love to see LaMelo kind of morph into more of a downhill playmaker
Yeah.
than a guy who's on the perimeter, stepping back for three, trying to kind of get hot and be a high volume shooter. Now, of course, I understand with the ankle injury, he might have some trepidation with constantly driving to the paint and having to, be in a crowd and maybe possibly landing on someone's foot. However, when he can create consistent paint penetration, I think it does wonders for this team. And that might be how Khan can kind of shift into that number two, kind of 2B role rather than being a three on this team because although he had 26, those shots were coming off catch and shoot or end of
Yeah.
shot clock. He had someone on the ropes, pump fake, dribble, get back to my spot, square up and shoot it again. It wasn't really a, hey, let's get Con the ball. It was him kind of working around the edges. How can you see LaMelo kind of shift his game in order to maximize the potential of Brandon Miller, Miles Bridges, and Con Knipple?
Yeah, I think that's kind of, I mean, that's a money ball type question for this team is we haven't, you think about this Hornets team, how would a team defend a LaMelo Ball in the playoffs? We've never seen it. How is he going to have to shift his game to, offset what a defense is trying to do to him? And obviously he's got a ton of gravity on the court. He's really a triple double threat with his passing ability. He's a great rebounder for a guard. So you talk about maximizing those things, not taking as many fall away one-legged three-pointers or very contested shots. Like you mentioned earlier, there was a time where that was the best thing Charlotte's got. Now it's okay. We know Khan can get these shots up. We know Brandon is going to be there. So I'd like to see him. You mentioned it. I mean, we talked with Khan, like playing off 2 feet, like getting 2 feet in the paint, watching the defense collapse, being able to shell it out. Or, I mean, got Jeremy, we've talked about it a ton. If you throw the ball near Ryan Kalkbrenner at the rim, he's going to score the ball. It's like an 80% clip. So continue to be a facilitator, try and find ways to draw contact. And you mentioned like the trepidation of not wanting to step on an ankle or anything like that. You can tell that he plays with the finesse that he wants to get that floater off and then he's kind of, pulling away a little bit. I think, yeah, continue to find ways to draw contact because I mean, I think I've said it before, like he's going to have to play better. And if it's not scoring, it's going to have to be stepping up in those other ways for this team to get to where it wants to be.
The Hornets had their real access video and in it in the locker room after the initial game against the Nets. Melo was in the locker room kind of telling the team, hey, there are going to be
Yeah.
ups and downs this season. We have to learn how to ride the wave. He said the same thing yesterday in media availability when he said, hey, that's false info. I want to be in Charlotte, all these things. But he also said later in that clip that there are going to be ups and downs in the season. Now, Brandon Miller walked in the postgame and was visibly upset. And it was his birthday. He turned 23 today. Maybe didn't have the outcome that they wanted to see. However, this is where I look at Charles Lee. Because the entire season I've been saying a lot of people have been kind of coming after him. And I've been saying, dude, what do you expect him to do when KJ Simpson is trotting out as your starting point guard in some games? What do you expect him to do when you have Sion James, who's a good rookie, having to be a 40-minute, 37-minute per game player? Those excuses aren't there anymore. You have Brandon back, LaMelo's back. Although they're on minutes restrictions, Con Knipple is back and healthy. Miles Bridges is here. You don't have Kalkbrenner right now, but this loss to the Clippers showed me one thing. We gotta figure these things out, right? We have to realize that these games going forward are going to determine where this team is going and where this team is headed in the future. Kind of talk about the trajectory of this team now that you're healthy and now there's no expectations or no excuses anymore. There are real expectations on this team.
Yeah, I think, I mean, this is a huge evaluation period. You talked earlier with Jeff Peterson. Like, they've got to decide if they want to, like, what kind of contract extension they want to give Brandon Miller this offseason. So these are crucial times for him. He looked like himself today. Like we talked about it earlier, throwing down lobs, finding his shot in the mid range. You want to see, I mean, just as a collective, you want to see more defensively. Like, that's Charles Lee's bag. You know what I'm saying? I mean, he's a defensive minded head coach. He's talked about that since he got here. That's the Hornets DNA. You want to see more effort fighting over these screens, contesting James Harden threes, because we talked about it before. Hey, good morning, Sion James. Hope you slept well. Hope you slept good. I got to steal your bar. Like, you're guarding James Harden tonight. You're guarding Luka Doncic tonight because they don't have that point of attack defender that is going to shut somebody down. They've got guys that can make it difficult. We've talked about what Miles Bridges had to do last year and kind of the load lifted off his shoulders with someone like Sion James. So I think the expectations are still low for this team. Like, it's just kind of figuring out what do they need when the 2026 NBA draft rolls around and what kind of position they're going to be in for that pick? Because we've seen it. You have a terrible season. You win 19 games. The lottery odds aren't always in your favor. So anything is possible with this group. But like I said a little bit early in the show, it's clear that they're a couple pieces away from being like a real contender to find their way into the playoffs in the East.
Brandon starts out on James Harden. Sion James takes a little bit of it later on. Miles Bridges takes a little bit later on. Leo McNeely takes a little bit later on. And there were no answers for him. And this is where I want
Yeah.
to end this show. Chris Paul announced that this is going to be his last season. And you look at someone like James Harden in year 17, going out there and giving you a double nickel, 55. There are times when you just have to erase all the fandom or the reporting, take the reporter hat off, everything, and just realize that you're witnessing greatness. Can you
Yeah.
talk about James Harden, year 17, 27 points in the first quarter, 55 points in the game? It doesn't matter what you throw at him. At a certain point, he just becomes Neo in the Matrix. Talk about this performance and kind of who Harden has been for his entire career.
Yeah, not as high stakes of a moment, but it reminded me of Luka Doncic against the Suns, Game 7 a few years ago. Just, I mean, 27 in the first quarter. You mentioned it, three after three, getting to the line. I mean, he left some money on the table, missing a couple free throws in that first quarter. And Charlotte's team total in the first quarter was 30 points. I mean, he almost tied their offense. He finishes the day. We talked about it, 17 of 26, connects on 10 three balls today, turns the ball over just twice. It's vintage performance. It reminded you of the Houston Rockets, James Harden, and I think it makes sense for him, right? Like, there's times Kawhi Leonard's out, he hasn't been back. They're struggling this year. The Clippers are. They're sitting right around. I think they're 5-11 now, and I mean the NBA needs them to get out of the lottery, so that pick doesn't go straight to Sam Preston, the Oklahoma City Thunder. So you love to see that for James. I hate that Chris Paul wasn't available to the media today, especially announcing his kind of, retirement tour. It was good to see him on the court, man, because he's had a lot of DMPs lately. But yeah, anything where, I mean, you saw it. Chris Paul's on the court. James is on fire looking for that 50th point. He's just getting him the ball. Take it, go score, man. It's fun to watch James. Like I said, the Hornets don't really have someone that can match that, especially when he's on a heater like he was today.
Hornets lose to the Clippers 131 to 116. They face the Hawks tomorrow at 6 p.m. and then they're back in the Spectrum Center on Wednesday against the New York Knicks for the in-season tournament group play. Thank you, Hunter. Uh, don't really have much else to say. If you guys watch this, leave a like and subscribe for this channel, and I guess we'll see you guys next time. Peace.